All right, we are here in Cape Town, of course, awaiting the delivery of the final budget in the sixth administration by Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana. We've been speaking to a number of different stakeholders, academia, economists, labour, and now speaking to somebody who's more in the market space, actually in the fund management space, looking at the areas of pensions and, good investments for clients and so on and so forth. I'm joined by Hugh Hacking. He's the executive head of structured investments and annuities at Momentum Corporate. Thank you very much, Hugh, for joining us. So, of course, everyone is watching the budget. But what are some of the things that you'll be keenly watching? I suppose from your perspective, you look after people's money. So you'll be looking at whether the government is trying to, encroach on people's wealth.
Nompo, I think we're looking for a few things. The one, we're looking for clarity on the so-called two-pot system, just in terms of finalising that, getting that out the way. The other thing is we're also, I think, looking for the growth story. Where's the growth story? How are we going to grow the economy? People tend to talk about taxes when it comes to budgets, but for us, we're looking at growth, and we're also looking forward to see what interest rates might do, and looking forward in terms of what investment markets and how they may respond.
So you touched on the issue of the two-pot retirement system. That's set to kick in on September the 1st, all things being well. Do you think that the industry is ready for it? I mean, we still see that at a parliamentary level, this issue is still being discussed and has yet to be fully sealed. But is the industry going to be ready? And more broadly, what are your feelings around the two-pot retirement system, whether it be from an industry perspective or for actual pension fund members?
Well, some of us are going to be ready. Maybe some people won't. But look, there has been a fair amount of work done across the industry. And so I suspect that one way or another, it'll work on 1 September. So I do think that there are probably still some finalising touches to be put in place by some players, but I think we'll get there. In terms of the two-pot system itself, look, I think it has pros and cons. People tend to belabor the cons of money flowing out of the system and so on. But a big pro of that is that, a lot of people are in distress, and this system does give a way for people to access funds when they are in distress, and I think that's a good thing.
Now, it's been said, that foreign investors have hugely divested out of the South African capital markets over a number of years, and it's been more marked in terms of, the South African government bond space. Perhaps you can give us a sense of why you think that has been happening, and also what needs to happen for those flows to start coming back. I mean, you touched on the growth story.
Nompo, that's a complex story as to why, but there's a few key reasons. One is, of course, we looked at the sovereign bond downgrades, some time ago, and that caused certain types of investors to have to disinvest from our bonds. Another one is, of course, confidence in the South African growth story and the South African sort of political stability itself in general. And so foreign investors tend to look at that growth story and they want to see where it's going to come from. And then, of course, within our own economy, we've seen high inflation, high interest rates, etc. And that has caused a loss of confidence, particularly also around what's happened with things like load shedding, which does concern investors a lot in terms of what local companies might do from an investment point of view. So I think in terms of getting the flows back, I think it is about confidence, and it's also largely about growth. If investors see the path to growth and how the economy is going to grow, they will return and they will invest in the economy.
So one of the things we've been hearing, we know that government's got massive debt, and we're paying quite a lot in terms of debt servicing costs. But the idea that government or national treasury may be able to tap onto the gold and foreign exchange reserves contingency pot, which is essentially basically a pot, just for the viewers' understanding, it's a pot of money that has accrued from the gains or the losses held by the South African Reserve Bank in terms of our foreign exchange, gold and foreign exchange reserves, which are to the tune of about 50 billion rand. So those gains and losses go into a pot which government technically can access. Now, what would that do to confidence if government were to tap onto that? Because it suggests that they're not able to tap elsewhere, and obviously they have to pay that money back to that pot. It's not theirs to just do with willy-nilly, as business bodies have said. They must return that money, but surely that's going to dampen confidence if they go down that route.
Look, in my view, the main confidence damper is around economic growth. It's complex in the sense that governments do access various sources of money from central reserves, etc., across the globe, and provided it's done within prudent limits, that's not necessarily an issue. And look, all governments do run a system of government debt. It's part of the stability of the financial system, and a lot of long-term investment is actually based on the issuance of government debt. So that's not entirely a bad thing. It's when government spending and the controls around the fiscal system get out of control, that's when there's a problem. At this point in time, I think we can look forward hopefully to a budget speech from the minister that remains prudent and remains within the bounds of those controls. And so I don't expect that any steps like that will have a profound impact on confidence. The big one is, what is our growth story? That's the big one.
Indeed, growth, growth, growth. Hugh Hacking, thank you so much for speaking to us, as he's from Momentum Corporate. We're going to hand it back to studio, and of course we're going to continue giving you more rolling coverage ahead of the budget and post it.